Hey, I'm Gretchen,
I'm Corey.
and we are Two Girls in Jesus. We are here to dig with y'all our third week in relationships. And our first verse is Luke 6:31. Corey, you want me to take that one or you want to start?
You get started with it.
Okay. So Luke 6:31 out of the NLT says, "Do to others as you would like them to do to you." And y'all, it just couldn't be that easy, right? So I had to look up several different versions. The God's Word translation says, "Do for other people everything you want them to do for you." The CEV, Contemporary English Version, I think that's what that stands for. It says, "Treat others just as you want to be treated." And of course, our easy version says, "Do the good things for other people that you would want them to do for you." And that was again just one of those short, sweet, simple, and I just tried to make it all kinds of complicated.
I used the NIV and then I went straight into the ESV and I liked the way that it was worded. It says, "And as you wish that others would do to you, do to them." So they all kind of say the same thing, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
pretty short verse. And what I wrote down is, with everything that we've gone through the last 2 weeks and then stepping into this one, it's saying, okay, in case you didn't get it from the other ones, you big dummy, this is
Yeah.
all you have to do. Just treat people the way you want them to treat you. And
Even if Corey, you think they don't deserve it.
especially when you think they don't.
Exactly.
um, there's undoubtedly somebody out there in the world that wants to use this verse in a negative way to make you treat them a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
But we just continue to do what we think we would want done to us, even though somewhere inside of us we know, even though we know that they may not in our minds deserve it, in our heart we know that if we keep doing good for them, hopefully they'll take their bitter heart and get a little better.
Yeah. And one thing that struck me when I was digging in this verse is it never says that I have to like those people.
Right.
It never one time says, "Do unto the others that you like the way you'd have them do unto you."
Right.
It's everyone. Do to others. There's nobody excluded. It doesn't say do to other believers, other same denomination. It just says others, and that's everyone.
And when you get down to it, isn't that what Jesus did? He treated everybody the same.
Exactly. He exactly did.
Well, that was too easy.
I know, right? I
I
try to
guess
make it so complicated, and it's just not. It's just not complicated.
it's not. Sometimes we get in our fields and it gets really complicated.
Yes, exactly.
But let's move on to our second verse, Proverbs 17:17. So let's move into our second verse and see if it's just as easy as that first one. The second verse is Proverbs chapter 17, verse 17. And it says in the NIV version, "A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for a time of adversity." I'm going to let you read the NLT or whatever you have, and then I want to talk about my thoughts on it. Maybe the
Okay.
others.
Yeah, I did the NLT, and it says a friend is always loyal, and a brother is born to help in times of need.
So it didn't matter which version I read, it just threw me. And I just really didn't like the version. And I think that's because sometimes family will hurt you deeper than a friend ever would. Family will turn their back, and a friend will be right beside you. And that's not in all cases, and that's not in all families, not all family members. But I've just seen so many instances where that friend, that chosen family is what I like to say,
Yes. Yeah.
they are there through it all.
Even through
And
your stupidity and your bad decisions.
yeah. And so it really threw me. Now, my sister would be there for me. If I called her right now, she'd be here in a heartbeat.
Right.
Same thing. they they would drop their world to come fix my world. So it's not that way in all families, but I've seen it so many times where your loyalty to your family is possibly going to bring you down. So I just don't know how I feel about it. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong. Maybe when they say a brother is born for a time of adversity, they don't mean a literal brother.
I don't think they do. I
I don't know.
think they mean a friend is always loyal. And then when there's a time of need, that friend is your chosen family. That friend turns into your family. That's what I think it means.
Maybe, yeah, maybe a brother is born means that they show you that they're truly your family when you're going through adversity and they're there for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This one's deeper. A lot
Yeah.
deeper than the last one.
Yeah. I had to define loyal just to make sure that I understood what it meant. And it means giving or showing firm and constant support or allegiance to a person or institution. And my thoughts on this was when someone you trusted with vulnerabilities, secrets, dreams, love, even, and they betray you, it cuts deeper than any knife ever could. Friends, boyfriends, husbands, parents, siblings, when a hurt comes from one of those people, that cut will heal over, and you'll have a scar. There'll be a scar there. Um, and while the surface of that seems closed and it's not bleeding anymore, your heart's not bleeding anymore. Underneath that scar is it's just as raw and sensitive and painful as the day that it happened, whatever it was. Corey, you and I are so blessed with our girls. There's
Yeah.
6 of us in total. And we are so blessed because, and we're spread out, you know, across the Southeast. Some of us are way up north. One of us is. But I
Two.
know,
Two are way up north.
yeah. Well, one of them's way up there in Michigan.
Yeah.
That's not driving distance. Pittsburgh's driving distance to me. Anyway, rabbit hole, a squirrel. Even with that being said, if I or you or any one of them made that phone call, I need you, they would be here as soon as they could be.
Yes.
And I have no doubt. There is no doubt. There is no wondering. There is no if. I know that they would be here. They may not be able to be here at the drop of that hat, but they will be here. And I have never once questioned y'all's loyalty, not only to me, but to each other as a unit. Our loyalty to our unit is something really, really special, I feel like. Y'all would tear off a roof for me. You remember the story where Jesus was in a house and there was a man who was paralyzed and his friends was toting him to get him to Jesus on the cot. And when they got there, there were so many people they couldn't get to the door to even get him to Jesus. So they climbed the roof and dug a hole in the roof because in those days they were made of like mud and thatch and all that clay. They dug a hole and let the man down on his cot to get him to Jesus for his healing. And in my brain, in my heart, I know that y'all would do that for me. Even the ones of us that do doubt, even the ones of us that don't believe, they'd still dig that roof to get me to where I felt like I needed to be.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And Solomon wrote that proverb, and you could see it 2 different ways. I think he might have been comparing true friendship to that of a sibling, but I don't think that it was a sibling born to you. I think, like I said earlier, it's that friend that turns into your sister or turns into your brother. Um, and that's how close you are. It's intimacy that you have with friends, like you have with your siblings. Um, and genuine friendship is built on loyalty. Um, and that's trustworthy. And it's a willingness to stand by your friend or friends through thick and thin. It is an unexplainable bond. And I, for one, am so thankful that I have it with not only you, but all of us, our whole unit. Um, I don't know how I would get through life without y'all. I don't know how I would.
I agree. I put that all of you have loved me all the way through some miserable and hard days and been there to cheer me on through the greatness as well.
Absolutely.
It's wonderful to know that we have each other.
Yeah.
And you're right, we're blessed.
Very, very blessed. And that's what I felt when I read that verse, just overwhelmingly blessed and kissed by God that he gave that to us. Because not everybody has that.
I agree.
All right. So the next verse is 1 John 4:7. All right, NLT. Dear friends, let us continue to love one another, for love comes from God. Anyone who loves is a child of God and knows God. I got two more versions. You want to hear them?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. CEV says, my dear friends, we must love each other. Love comes from God. And when we love each other, it shows we have been given new life. We are now God's children and we know him. And our good old easy version, my friends, we should all love each other. It is God who makes us able to love other people. Everyone who loves other people has become a child of God. That person knows God. And the very next verse, Corey, it says, God is love. It is the very essence of him.
I didn't read that, but I did write, and this is what I highlighted to make sure I said, perhaps when we are feeling unloved, we need to draw closer to God so he can help us to be reminded just how much he loves us.
Yeah.
Because don't we all have a desire to be loved? And we want to have that person, those people that we can love. I mean,
Yeah.
without love, we're just walking through a bitter, angry, hate-filled world. And I believe that I've crossed paths with those people. And maybe I've been an angry person at times, but ultimately, I mean, I have my friends, I have my children. Those to me have been steadfast, always loved fully by me. I don't think I've ever been so angry that I haven't loved them. You know, with a spouse, you can maybe get so angry that you're like, oh, I hate you, because it's such a deep bond, it's such a deep love. So when you're hurt, you know, it hurts that much more.
Exactly.
And they can maybe hurt you deeper than someone else.
Yeah.
Parents, you know, when you're a kid, you say, I hate you, but you don't really mean that. You love them. You know, you have that feeling because that's all you know at that moment is to say, well, I hate you, because, you know, you're trying to save you from doing something bad or getting hurt. But ultimately, just I want everybody to be able to feel loved, even if it's just going to God and knowing that Jesus absolutely loves each and every one of us if we just let him. Because there have been times when I felt unloved or not good enough or questioned everyone and everything because of a moment. And I wish in my darkest time I would have felt that desire to go to his word instead of getting a drink or, you know, doing something worse.
Right. Yeah. I thought it was really important with this verse to highlight the different types of love that we find throughout the Bible. In our culture, we say love I love you to my parents. I love you to my friends. I love you to my children. I love you to my siblings. I love you to, partners or, spouses. And because of who we're speaking to, we know the type of love that we're talking about, right?
Mhm.
But when the Bible was written, it was not that way. They had different words for love based upon the type of love they were talking about. So agape love is love that comes from God, and it extends to the undeserving, to the ungrateful, even to enemies. Okay, it is divine love. That's like the love of God. Okay, philia, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's friendship or brotherly love. Eros is romantic love, and storge is family love. So if I was talking to my mom, getting off the phone with her, I would say storge. Okay. If I was getting off the phone with my husband, I would say eros. So thought it was important to highlight that because when we're digging into relationships, and so we're seeing that word love often, in addition to some others, forgive being one of them. It's important to know what kind of love is being talked about. And in this verse, it's talking about agape love. It's not romantic or relational. It is the love that comes from God. It is selfless and it is giving yourself for the benefit of others, even when it's difficult. So even when that husband who cut you deeper than anyone else possibly ever could, human person ever could, you still, it's okay to still love them. It's okay to still love them through however you and God decide to handle this situation. Through your forgiveness, do you reconcile? Maybe, maybe not, you know? But you still love that person because love comes from God. God is love. If you do not have love for another human being, this verse right here says, then you don't know God.
So, do you think when there's someone in your life that's maybe harmed you um, in whatever way, and you don't want to you don't want anything bad to happen to them, but you also don't want them in your life? Do you think that kind of gets back into what you said was God's love for everyone, to where it's the agape? So this person over here who, I don't know, murdered someone that I'm close to, I don't want them. I mean, at times you probably do want them to die, but you still have to have love for them. I mean, I see people do it and I'm just amazed. I'm amazed that they can just give it to God, because I don't know how I would do that in that time. But do you think that that's when it transitions into, I do have a love for everyone, even when they've done terrible things?
Yeah, and I can give a perfect example of that. You're exactly right. You're spot on. And an example of that is I've spoke of this before. My fiance that was murdered um, in 1995. I did not have I knew Jesus. I knew who he was, knew God, but I was not a follower. I did not have a relationship with Jesus at all. Um, I was very much living in the world. And when that man was arrested and he went to trial, the victim's family got to speak.
Mm.
And I was not allowed in the courtroom for several different reasons. Um, and but they allowed me to write a letter instead of speaking in the courtroom. And the judge read my letter to that man. And in that letter, I wrote that I hope every time he closed his eyes that he saw DJ. Every time he closed his eyes, I hope he saw him. I hope he saw his face. And I also told him that I hoped he was assaulted every single waking hour that he was in prison. For however many years he was going to be there. I didn't care. I hope he was hurt every single day. And Corey, I meant that. I meant every single word I said.
I can completely understand why. I mean, that's how I would feel. I'd be just so hurt and so angered and want that person to suffer.
Now, I forgive him for what he did. That doesn't mean that what he did was okay. It doesn't mean that I like what he did, that I'm okay with what he did, but I forgive him. And I hope that one day my mind catches up with my heart in that area. Okay. But God tells us to forgive. It's not a if you want to, it's a command. We're told to forgive others, or God will withhold forgiveness from us, right? So I forgive him. I hope he's found Jesus. Now I don't want to see him when I get to heaven. I don't want to sit down and have a cup of coffee with him. Okay. I don't even want to be on the same cloud with him. I don't want to walk down the same streets of gold with him. But I hope he's found Jesus, and I hope he gets there. That's as close as I think any human can get to agape love. So you are exactly right. I don't wish anything bad on him. I hope he's not being assaulted every waking hour he's in prison. I hope he's not now. You know, will I ever tell him I agape you? Will I ever say those words to him? I love you. I would be able to say I love you in Christ, you know, because Christ tells me I have to. Would I mean it? I don't know.
I think when a hurt like that has been done to you, you don't know until you're faced with the moment.
Yeah, and I don't ever want to be faced with that moment.
And I hope that none of the people who make it into heaven because they have accepted Jesus, but they wronged people that way, I hope that they're not allowed to cross paths with people that hey, what about the people they murdered?
Right. Because I just can't, and some people say, that we're not going to recognize our human selves. And I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I believe. There may be some people on earth that you love so much that you might recognize them because you feel the love you have for them, but am I going to see my mom's face? We get new bodies. She's not going to look like my mom, but will I recognize her spirit? Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what any of that looks like. I try not to dwell on that a lot. Because it blows my mind, and not in a good way. I don't know, but it just in my human head, I don't want to see none of those people.
Okay, our fourth verse is John chapter 15, verse 13. And the NIV version says, "Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends." And it's funny, I think it was last week we had a verse where I was questioning what it said, and it didn't actually say this, but here we are, and now it says it.
Right.
So I said, if we truly believe in him, then this gift from him is available to all of us. So kind of going back on what we were just talking about in the last verse, no matter what a person has done, as long as they ask for forgiveness and they truly repent and believe that Jesus is Lord, then they will have their place in heaven as well. That is why Jesus is more perfect, more holy than any of us. There are people I would certainly lay my life down for, but are there people who I would maybe Not, um, not when I have time to think about it. When I have the time to just really think through it, would I? No. But in the instant, in that moment, would I? I mean, maybe. But Jesus didn't take time to think about it. He had plenty of time to think about it. He knew it was going to happen. He still did it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're exactly
So
right.
good on him, but I'm not that good, I don't think.
Well, I think context is really important here. Let me read the God's Word translation. It says, the greatest love you can show is to give your life for your friends. Who was Jesus talking to? He was talking to his disciples. He was talking to the ones that walked away from their lives just to follow him, to learn from him, to live closely with him. Um, and my initial thoughts was, well, this verse is the ultimate example of Jesus's love for us because, like you said, this is exactly what he did for us. He died for us. He did not die for us to continue living a sinful life. He did not die for us to die on this earth and be put in the ground or in a vault or in an urn. He died for us so that we would have access to God, because there was no way we were going to attain that without the ultimate sacrifice. This verse is saying we should love other believers. This is talking strictly to believers, followers of Jesus. And biblically, when you use that word believers, you have to be careful to distinguish what you mean there, because even the demons believe. Okay, even the demons knew who Jesus was. Okay. But the believers that they're talking about, he was talking to his disciples. So it's believers who are following Jesus. How do you do that? How do you die for other believers? I don't think it's meant literally. Okay. I don't think it is meant that, you should take a bullet for someone else just because they're a believer. Okay. Or just because they're a follower of Jesus. Now, if God tells you to do that, that's a different story. But I think it's talking about acts of service,
Mhm.
doing for others, even when you don't feel like it. Okay. Showing compassion to that single mother that she's had 3 children by 3 different men and has never been married. Um, the alcoholic that walks in still with alcohol still in his breath, looking for Jesus, you know, um, sacrifice your seat so that they have the best seat in the house, you know, um, if they need a jacket, give them the one you're wearing, not the one that's 10 years old hanging in your closet. I believe that's what this is talking about. And that's what Jesus did. That's how Jesus loved his disciples. He ultimately did give his life, but he gave it for all of us, not just them. You know, he gave his life even for unbelievers. He gave his life even for those that knew who he was and turned away from him so that they could have access to God if they chose that. You know, this is just a mirror of how Jesus loved his disciples. Um, Again, does this mean literally? I don't think so, unless God specifically says, run out in front of that train to save that person, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and I will say this, if I'm wrong, okay, and I'm not too proud to say that I might be wrong, okay, I might be. He might mean this literally, okay? You know as well as I do that I would never put you in that situation. I know you would never put me in that situation. our unit, our girls would never put any of us in that situation. Do you know what I mean? True friends wouldn't allow you to do that.
Oh, we'd probably all die trying to save each other.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If one's drowning, we're all going, you know? Um, but again, even if it's meant literally, I can't imagine a circumstance with people that were as close to Jesus as his disciples were. That's our unit, that's our girls to me. Okay. I can't imagine in my human brain an instance where any of y'all would drag me into that situation. Now, I'm going to go, I'm going to try, I'm going to do my best to save you, you know?
Right. He was willing.
Yes. Yes. Um, but that's our culture. But do you know in other cultures, this is a common occurrence? They literally lay down their lives for the people that they love,
Yeah.
friends, family. That's exactly what they do. And that was a little mind blowing to me. But it does not mean those people that do that, that does not mean that they're following Jesus.
Right.
So I don't know. I kind of went down a rabbit hole on this one, but it made me really take a look at how Jesus and it just what the death on the cross was the ultimate, but there were other ways that he did that. You know, there were other ways through compassion and acts of service and sacrifice and just that love that we can't comprehend, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. This one was real out of all of I loved all of these verses a lot. I felt like I really connected with all of these verses, but this one really got me in my feels.
Well, the first one, like I said earlier, just made me say, "Hey, you big dummy, this
Yeah,
is what I've been trying to tell you, and here it is, smack you in the
yeah,
face."
yeah. Short, sweet, and simple. Two.
That's it.
Yeah, can
Sometimes
you
I need
see?
it to be that easy.
Yeah,
This
because
one, this one was deep. There were two that were pretty deep for me this time.
yeah, yeah. But that first one, that Luke 6:31. In my brain, I was like, it can't be that simple. It just can't be that simple. Here, let me try to complicate it. Let me look up other versions. Let me in the context, let me look up the context. Let me see what was happening here because there's got to be something else. There's got to be something under there that prompted this. And there just wasn't. The only thing is it's not talking just about about just the people you like. It's talking about everybody, even people you don't like, even people you would consider your enemies. Yeah, just mind blown.
Well, here's just a sneak peek of next week. We're going to talk about not taking revenge.
Oh gosh.
That's all I have to say about that one. Wait till next week. Let's see what that rabbit hole looks like.
Oh yeah, there is a rabbit hole on that one. Let me just tell you, there is a 3-page rabbit hole on that one.
Yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah.
So that's just a sneak peek for next week.
So would you say your biggest takeaway this week was the John, the 6:31?
I mean, it was just the one that
The Luke 6:31, I'm sorry.
Luke's, yeah, Luke. It was just the one that was the keep it simple, treat people the way that you want them to treat you,
Yeah.
and you'll have a good day, hopefully.
Yeah, this last one, the John 15:13 was my biggest takeaway. And I've just been, even when I was, reading the Bible for other purposes, I did a study, I started a study in Matthew. And I kept going when I was reading stuff in Matthew, I kept going back and almost comparing it to this verse. Do you know what I mean? Like I'd be like, oh, yeah, that's Jesus doing that here. that's Jesus doing that here, you know? So that was kind of cool for me.
Every week there's something that gets each of us. Sometimes it's the exact same thing, but I like that we can just talk about the differences, and you can help me come to not a realization, but to look at something a little bit differently, and that's okay. And sometimes that's really good and what we need. And I do the same for you sometimes.
Absolutely, you do. You say some really profound things. I have my Corey notes all through my book here. When you say something, I write it down. They're just like, wow.
Oh, well, maybe you can write a book on that one day.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what I said. Usually that's not something that I wrote down. It's just something that just spits out of my mouth.
Yeah. But sometimes that's God speaking through you. You know, it just kind of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, I've definitely said that before.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, guys, thank you for joining us this week. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe. What else do we do? Ring the bells,
Squeeze your lemons.
squeeze the lemons, press the heart, mash the heart. What else do they do? Spotify, YouTube, Facebook,
Like us on TikTok.
Instagram, Lemonade, Threads, which is new. Somebody's got to teach me how to use that. Hint, hint.
It's definitely not going to be me. TikTok.
Yeah, it's our behind the scenes team member that just keeps us straight on all this stuff. But we thank y'all for watching and subscribing and liking and sharing. Y'all, it just blows us away every week, and we appreciate you so much.
All right, till next week.
Next week, y'all have a good one.